Hello, welcome, Million Mom Movement family. Today is October the 28th, 2022, and my name is Carmela Velarde. I've been with the Million Mom Movement Council for the past 2 years, and I'm really passionate about education, activism, and empowerment. And when I had Nia and Katana, my 9 and 12-year-old, I made it my mission to read labels and to educate myself about toxic-free, clean living. And we're up against the massive trifecta of the medical institutions, Monsanto, Bayer, and the chemical companies, alongside big pharma, who've hijacked big agriculture with spraying Roundup on more than 70% of the crops in America. And consuming these sprayed foods greatly affects the homeostasis of our gut health because of the active ingredient, glyphosate, which blocks our body's ability to absorb nutrients. And the compounding effect of this chemical is linked to autism, ADHD, diabetes, and so much more. Purium's organic superfood lifestyle gives anyone who's ready for transformation the tools to release the toxic load while flooding nutrient-dense alkaline food on a cellular level. And we're providing solutions, and I hope that you enjoy today's topic today. So I'm joined by my counsel, Neva Flore, Taz Ferreira, and Michelle Ricci, who's our newest council member. So what are we discussing today? We're discussing toxin-free trick-or-treating. So last week, we got to discuss what healthy Halloween looks like, where we provided alternative healthy options for a festive holiday, incorporating some of our beloved Purium superfood products. And we want to direct you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel where all of the replays will be hosted. We have an Instagram page, a Facebook official page, and a Million Mom Movement group as well. So this is where we come together as a community of concerned caregivers, moms, dads, aunties, uncles, and children that are on a mission to grow this movement to 1 million and beyond. So I want to introduce Michelle Ricci, who's going to be sharing what our intention for this movement is, which is called our pledge.
Thanks, Carmela. I'm really excited about this topic today too, and all the conversations we get to have. So the pledge, if you know it, read it with me. This is at the millionmommovement.info/join at the bottom of the page. I pledge to defend the health of myself and my family. I pledge to choose organic foods that are minimally processed and free of man-made ingredients. I pledge to read labels and educate myself on all aspects of clean living. I understand that my actions today will positively impact the health and environment of future generations, and I am committed to sharing this movement of many. I am the Million Mom Movement. We are the Million Mom Movement. And with that, I'll pass it back.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And, as you really listen to the weight of these words, we're going to go into detail as to why exactly we want to share this as something new for new people to be introduced, because it really grounds what we're all about. And it's a simple mission. And when more people put it up on their refrigerators, they're more clear about what exactly they're here to do. The lifestyle becomes more clear and we become more committed. And that's what we want, is to grow a committed, concerned group that knows that there are many solutions provided here. So the pledge is a really great way to quickly share about what we are and have it in your home. Let people see that this is a plaque. This is something that my family abides by. And I would love to then pass it on to Taz Ferreira, who is going to be sharing a piece that's in the news that's really relevant to our topic today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Carmela. Okay, so I was mentioning how Halloween is my favorite time of year. But what happens with Halloween? It's full of toxic chemicals. So if you guys are not following Food Babe yet, I would, in conjunction to the Million Mom Movement. She has great ideas and great information out there. So we decided, let's share this article, okay? Does your candy have GMOs, right? So just let's look at the candy that I'm pretty sure a lot of us used to have during Halloween, and they still have it each and every day, okay? These are some of the main ingredients: the corn syrup, the hydrogenated oil, the soybeans. But you know what I want to be talking about? I want to be talking about these food colorings, right? So I hear so many parents, they say, but it's one day, right? No big deal. Let the kids indulge. Well, let's discuss something right now. So if we're looking at the food dyes, okay, let's talk about red 40, right? We see that that's one of the first ones. Okay, so what is red 40? Red 40, so first of all of these food dyes are derived from petroleum. Petroleum, this belongs in your car. Why are we ingesting it? Doesn't that, it makes no sense? But this is what it does. So red dye causes ADHD. Did you guys know that? It's a neurological toxin. So when kids have it, okay, sure, that one day, but what happens when you have a toxic overload? Because they might not be having this candy every day, but in their daily food, they probably have different forms of toxicity, right? Gatorade, that red coloring, that popsicle. I mean, there's so many things that has a red dye. I remember when I was little, I grew up always constipated and having iron deficiency. And I had those red iron pills. You guys remember that? That is coated in red dye, right? That would cause so many issues. So look beyond what you're eating on that one day. It's a bioaccumulation of toxic overload. So that one day can cause a lots of other effects. Now, let's talk about yellow 5. That yellow 5 actually causes human white blood cells to be damaged, okay? And it causes your cells not to be able to repair itself. So you know what that means? That means it creates tumors. And it's so funny that the yellow 5 does that because when you think of yellow foods, you know, eat the rainbow, yellow foods are supposed to be anti-cancerous foods. Isn't that interesting how they play with our senses? And blue 5. So these are the main ones I want to talk about. Blue 5 actually causes brain tumors and it seeps into the bloodstream. And this one caused gastrointestinal disorders. Okay, so like allergies, asthma, diarrhea, any of those issues that the blue dye causes. But you know what? We have a solution. We have other candies today on the market that you can buy instead of those, right? I remember when I would get Skittles, I would pick out all of the blue ones, right? We thought this was like eating with our eyes, eating healthy food, but it's not. It's full of toxic chemicals. So let's make healthier choices. Let's use these chocolates as a reference. You know what? Or you can make your own, like what we suggested last week. And you can use our juice bar in the bag as all of the fruit colorings that our kids can have, and they can taste what real nutrition tastes like. So I love all of these, not anise, because I think anise is actually sold to Monsanto. So I would stay away from anise, but all of the others, there's so many great alternatives today that our kids will love and enjoy. And then during the call today, we're going to explain to you how you can actually talk to your kids about Halloween and nutrition. So you know what? If we start boycotting these companies that have all of these toxicity, you know what happens? They're going to start lowering the prices, because this is what I've been noticing, that a lot of these candies, they're at a higher price value. And I hear parents are telling me, but it's the cost, right? How can we afford this? Well, if the demand is so high, they will be forced to make it available to everyone and stop producing those foods. Okay, back to you, Carm.
Wow, thanks so much. I love that article so much. And I think it's really important for people to read it on their own and to pass it along. And there is a tipping point, like what Taz is talking about. We can be a part of that tipping point. That's what our movement is all about, where we're going to give you a call to action at the end, which is exactly this. It's to make some noise and aggregate the issue, right? We have to actually irritate these companies so that they actually move into action. So let's start off. We've got a lot to share today. So let's illuminate the fact that October is National Non-GMO Month, and it's also Eat Better, Eat Together Month. And next month is National Diabetes Month. So the director of Organic Consumers Association quotes, "The burning question for us all, it becomes how quickly can we move healthy organic products from a 4.2 market to the dominant force in American food and farming. The first step is to change our labeling laws. And with the Purium commitment, you can be ensured of our commitment and our labeling, that there are no artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, no synthetic vitamins, no binders, no fillers, no GMOs, no pesticides, no irradiated ingredients, and it's certified organic whenever possible." So you do want to look for that butterfly label, but just know that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's glyphosate free. So there are glyphosate free and certified organic labels that are much better, that we want to make sure as caregivers and family members reading labels that this is what we want to move towards. So I just want to take the time to thank you for investing in yourself to learn and grow with our community. And I'll open it up at the end for some Q&A to connect if you have any questions or comments. And I'd love to hear from all of the fellow Sarsteeds in our community. So some of you may know my story, and where I've experienced leaky gut, ADHD, like Taz says, a lot of red dye 40, autoimmune diagnoses, tooth decay, narcolepsy, and this was from a very early age in childhood. So I wasn't breastfed. And it was common at that time for doctors to move mamas to formula instead of encouraging them to breastfeed. And we know now that nursing mama's milk sets the tone for building a strong microbiome, which is the root cause of these issues. However, we have a gut health reset solution to build and rebuild the microbiome. So please connect to the friend who invited you to this episode for more information. We're talking about kids, especially here with Halloween and trick-or-treating. And many of you don't know the degree to which I was an addict, but I was, and I would hide and I would hoard this candy, guys. So I get it. I understand that feeling, and I understand what the kids are going through too. And the holidays were marked with candy. It was. And Halloween, well, the All Souls Day commemoration was way overshadowed by the excitement of accumulating a bag full of drugs. I mean, candy. So it wasn't until decades later that I learned that my beloved brands like Reese's and the Twixes, they were all filled with chemicals, processed sugars, trans fats, preservatives, and that petroleum that Taz talked about, that why is it even in our food in the first place? And all of these artificial colors that were added to it, I'm going to go into that later too. So today I allow my kids to trick or treat, but for the experience, for the festivity, but I have a practice which is called the Switch Witch. And I've implemented it, and Michelle Ritchie will be discussing this later in her segment as a solution. So let's start to talk about sugar, and then I'll go into artificial colors. So every culture loves treats. Yes, we all do. And why did knocking on doors, asking for a prank or a treat come into existence in the first place? We're talking about toxin-free trick-or-treating. So let's talk about the history, where it came from, and is it in alignment with what we started with in the first place? Well, Halloween has its roots in ancient pre-Christian Celtic, it's a festival, Samhain, which is also known as the Day of the Dead or All Souls Day. And on this sacred night, people would gather to light bonfires, offer sacrifices, and pay homage to the dead. But then in the mid-19th century, large numbers of US immigrants, especially those fleeing from the Irish potato famine in the 1840s, helped popularize Halloween. And the phrase trick or treat was coined, and the custom was firmly established in about 1951 by, it was depicted in the Peanuts comic strip, and in 1952 by Disney. So this was the start of mass marketing Halloween. Today, Americans spend an estimated $3.1 billion on candy on Halloween. Let that sink in because that's a lot of money. And this is according to National Retail Federation. And the day itself has become the nation's second largest commercial holiday. Did you know that there are 61 different types of sugar? So sugars can be hard to spot on nutrition labels because they have so many different names. And this is what we want to illuminate, is because they can be listed under a number of these names, such as corn syrup, agave nectar, palm sugar, cane juice, sucrose, sucralose, and the many more. And according to Sugar Science, the US manufacturers add sugar to 74% of packaged foods sold in supermarkets. That includes things that you may not even think that they're in, such as soups, sauces, dressings, and all of the above. 74% of packaged foods. And how can sugar affect us? This is what I would love to highlight, because we're talking about the detriment. Well, there are 10 ways, and many more, I'm sure, after that. But eating sugar gives your brain a huge surge of the feel-good chemical called dopamine. But then it crashes. So this explains why you're more likely to crave a candy bar, something very sugary, more so than an apple or a carrot at around 3 p.m. when you have that crash and you're looking maybe for something sugary or caffeine. It's because it's to chase that high that lights up your brain from the sugary breakfast. So the key is to start your day off alkaline. And this sets the stage for the balance throughout the whole day. Another thing is mental health is actually gut health, because 95% of the serotonin, which is our happy hormone, is built in the gut. And 70% of your immune system health is ruled by the gut. And there are more than 20 active hormones from the gastrointestinal tract to the central nervous system. So it's highly, highly sensitive, more highly sensitive than many people like to truly explain. And the next is the liver. The liver has so many different roles, but you might pat yourself on the back for not drinking alcohol. Like me, I'm allergic. But if you eat a lot of refined sugar, you can actually do as much damage to your liver. Studies found that those who consume high amounts of fructose have a greater risk of developing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease due to the fact that excess sugar gets stuck in the organ rather than being eliminated. The third is weight gain. So this is weight gain and inflammation because the damage that's created in your intestinal tract. This can lead to yeast overgrowth, parasites, autoimmune issues. And the next one, number 4, is something for our community because we're buzzing because of our new collagen protein, but it actually causes wrinkles. Sugars cause wrinkles and creped skin because it breaks down the collagen matrix that gives us our form. So sugar breaks this down at a rapid, accelerated rate. So why would you want that as an adult, especially? Children may not realize, but it's integral. They need all the support to build a healthy matrix to continue to grow. Number 5 is stress. So stress, well, the blood sugar spikes and then quickly plummets. So what happens? This causes our body to discharge a lot of hormones like adrenaline, epinephrine, cortisol. And this triggers what? Our nervous system response. So anxiety, ADHD, all of these symptoms that you see with people, maybe autism symptoms, these are ways that really can trigger stress. Stress triggers. And it messes with your emotions, of course. Actually, in Chinese medicine, anger is associated with the liver, and sadness is associated with the kidneys. So sugar affects both. It lowers your immunity, as we referred to our gut health, and sugar's acidity breaks down the enamel of your teeth and ruins your smile. I wish I'd known that more when I was younger, because that was a really big issue for me, even into pregnancy, where we're very mineral deficient and needing more at that time. It also affects your sexual and reproductive health, because it prevents optimization for the biomarkers for natural fertility. So you want to avoid that, obviously, and go for more of a sugar-free diet. And if you have diabetes, too much sugar can lead to kidney damage because the kidney filters the blood and the excess sugar actually prevents it from doing its job of filtering. Those are some major issues that sugar can really affect the body with. So let's talk quickly about artificial food dyes because Taz already touched on it with the article. But my first experience with Purium as a community with artificial food dyes was the very first convention I attended in 2014. Jeffrey Smith, the foremost advocate against GMO, he was there. He had a table outside and he was speaking about his book. His book is called The Seeds of Deception, Exposing the Industry and Government Lies About Genetically Engineered Foods. He was talking about the effects of artificial food coloring to the brain and what it does to kids' bodies and how this is a genetically modified ingredient. The use of artificial food coloring has actually been steadily increasing since the 1950s. Within the past 50 years, the amount of synthetic dye used in foods has increased by 500%. So why is this, right? Because it's found everywhere. It's found in places you may not even know. And the reason why, I'll go into that, but it's found in sodas, breakfast cereals, candies, snack foods, baked goods, desserts, I mean, literally everything. And it's because it makes the food look more appealing. It makes the food look attractive to consumers. It masks also the absence of color and vitality in nutrients. So this is a very greenwashed concept too. They're trying to make it look healthier when there's nothing, and when it's devoid of that. It's also much cheaper because you will have a longer shelf life if you have a vibrant color that's associated with health, with good vitality and nutrients in fruits and vegetables. And say, for instance, even Kraft, even mac and cheese, they'll put a red dye 40 and orange and yellow. So they'll have these food dyes in places where you wouldn't even imagine eating it because that's what the color of cheese should look like. But they add it on so that it's more attractive to the children and to the consumers. So what exactly are they? They're man-made. And the FDA defines a color additive as a substance that imparts color to food or drug or cosmetic or to the human body. And this leaves out that they're man-made, they're chemical, and they were originally made from, like what Tess says, coal tar, which should not be in our body, but are now made from petroleum. And then that's a crude oil, which is commonly used in gasoline, diesel fuel. Have you guys ever smelled that? And this is in our foods, but in the smaller dosages. Now, she mentioned the different foods that have these colors. Well, there are 9 colors that are approved by the FDA. And this is what you should look at in the labels, 9 of them. So there's blue 1, blue 2, citrus red 2, green 3, orange B, I don't see that as much, but red 3, red 40, yellow 5, and yellow 6. So those 9 are approved by the FDA. Now, over the past 100 years, food dye has been found to be more risky to our health than any other category of food additives. So this is why we highlighted during Halloween, is because literally all these candies, after I saw that article with titanium dioxide with Skittles, I looked at a lot of what's on the shelves and I looked and I found titanium dioxide in mostly all of them. And I was surprised. So it's commonly used in processed foods. So this is a community that's more whole food, plant-based. So let's move our children towards that lifestyle. The majority of artificial food colorings are found to have these different concerns. So I'll start with inflammation. It disrupts the functioning of your immune system. And really consuming these foods containing these dyes, it creates an inflammatory response to the body, and it leads to the activation of an autoimmune response because it's man-made. It doesn't process or digest well. It sticks inside the body. and they contain small molecules which they attach to proteins in our body, and it can cause disruptions in the immune system because it can't defend itself against something that's foreign. So this is why autoimmune kicks in. So red dye 3 was found to be an animal carcinogen in 1990, but for some reason, it's still allowed in our food. That's 32 years ago. Many cause cancerous tumors, like Taz had mentioned too from that article. Some of the most commonly used food dyes are linked to different forms of cancer. So citrus 2 cause bladder cancer and other tumors in mice and bladder tumors in rats. They are mammals just like us. Red 3 cause thyroid tumors in rats. Blue 2 may cause brain and bladder tumors in rats. And red dye 40, it's a neurotoxin, and it's spread through the cells, through the liver, spleen, and lymphatic system. So these tumors are found in those areas of the body within mice. Now, I'd worked for an autism agency for 3 years, and I worked directly as a lifestyle specialist to support families to help to clean the diet of these different clients of mine. And when I removed red dye 40 from them, their behavior changed immediately. This was one thing I noticed, and I love to test on the field, was these are adults with autism or in the behavior spectrum, and I immediately saw it firsthand. So it has been shown to trigger hypersensitivity and hyperactivity and unfavorable behavioral effects for children. So we're telling you this loud and clear, and I hope that you understand that when you're out allowing these kids to trick or treat, you're allowing these things into their life, into their bodies. The studies show that the elimination of artificial food dyes from children's diet may help to reduce the symptoms of ADHD disorders and other behavioral problems in children. So we just invite you to really understand that, let that sink in, and choose better. So I'm going to move to Taz Ferreira, I think is next, because she's going to share how we are to have these conversations with our children, maybe with our family, and how this holiday can then be more so a healthy, festive time than a restrictive and depleting time for those who want those candies.
Thank you so much, Carm. That was so complete. You know, it makes us think about what we're eating, right? So I don't want to scare you guys, right? This is not about fear. This is about education and learning what we can do, right? And having these conversations, because you know what? It begins with us. I love Halloween and I love trick-or-treating. I bring my kids trick-or-treating every year, right? But there's healthy ways that we can do it. And there's healthy conversations that we can have. So of course, you guys know my story, that I've been talking about this with my kids forever, right? So I have an 8-year-old and 13-year-old. So I'll show you how you can talk to elementary school age kids and high school age kids, because I know they are completely different. So we all have a transformation story, right? All of us here, every single one of you mamas and caregivers and, you know, like amazing people who are on this call right now, you all have a story. You all have a powerful story of what nutrition did to your body, right? Drop me a one if that's true. Okay, so I know myself, you guys know my story. I had so many autoimmune diseases, and this started at a very young age. So I always open up the conversation by being honest with my kids. I let them know whenever we go to the store, the whole array of all the chocolate bars with all of those colors, I used to eat them. What Carm was talking about being an addict, I was that addict. I consumed all of it. We had no idea that this was contributing to everything I was going through. And even the medication was contributing to it as well. We had no idea. So I show my kids, I tell them, so you see, mommy used to eat all of this, but how did mommy feel? Horrible. How much did mommy suffer? A lot, right? I let them understand that this is what I used to eat and that is how I used to feel. Because they see me today and they're always in disbelief. How did you, who talk about candy and nutrition, used to eat that? Because I didn't know, right? It's really important to be vulnerable with your kids and teach them that it's okay that I used to eat that, but I changed my life. I changed my life. I know better. I know what this does. And you can always show them this video. Have a conversation. Did you know that red 40 causes ADHD? Right? Maybe an elementary school 5-year-old or 8-year-old really won't understand what that means, but you can start telling them and being honest of how you used to live and how you feel today, right? So when my son, you guys all know how many issues he had, right? He had a lot of gut issues. He had skin issues. He was suffering. So I would explain to him what we used to eat that used to contribute to his skin. It used to contribute to his skin issues. And this is why. And he remembers, he has a clear memory of all of the skin issues he had and going to the bathroom. All of these things he remembers. So I talked to him about that. If we eat this, this is what's going to happen, right? I think it's really important to not put fear around food with our kids because we don't want them to have any unhealthy habits when they get older to rebel, because that can happen. If you say, no, you can't have that, what are they craving? That one thing you told them they can't have. So let's not do that. Let's show them and give them options. So if you have those Skittles or that red slushy or that blue slushy. So I remember as a child, they had those blue slushies and we would all show each other our tongues to see how blue it was, right? We didn't know what damage we were causing to our bodies back then. It was all in fun when we actually needed spirulina to show our tongues, right? So show our kids how you can have this fun. You can have this fun with showing all of the color, but make it healthy, right? So I show my kids that this is how you used to eat and this is how you used to feel. Do you remember that? Do you want to go back feeling that way? And then he tells me, he's like, absolutely not. Well, that makes sense. Your food makes you feel good or makes you not feel good. So if you have a child who's really, no, I don't believe in that, introduce them to other kids who are living this healthy lifestyle. Okay. Myself and my kids, we started the Million Kids movement. Bring them on there. Let them connect to other kids, their own age. Maybe they can do a live together. They can say, how did you start on this lifestyle? Where did it begin? How did you used to feel, right? Because kids won't listen to anyone else than other kids, right? They relate to each other, but it all starts with the mom. So if you keep these candies in your house, you have some cupboard somewhere, the kids are going to ask you questions. So maybe, first of all, don't have this in your house and make it a topic of conversation. If you eat this, this is how you may feel. And is this how you want to feel? So now let's bring a topic for teenagers. Teenagers, it's a whole different field, right? It's a whole different mindset. You got to get into a whole different mindset when talking to a teenager. So my daughter, Kiara, has been living this lifestyle forever, right? So as a teenager, I don't have to say anything to her. She knows what she needs to do. She's been on our calls. She sees everyone, she understands. She knew how I was. She saw what my son went through. So this was all part of her testimonials, and she can draw her own conclusions. But her friends don't. Her friends don't live this lifestyle. So how can we translate this to her friends? This is how we do it. So first, start connecting to your teenager and see what they care about. What do I mean by that? So teenagers care about, what is it? Skin health, acne? Is it good grades? How about your teenager boys who want muscles, right? Remembering dance moves, right? All of these things. Well, you know what? That's all contribute to artificial ingredients. I bring them back to that. Well, if you have this is how you're going to feel. Do you want to have that? if you have this green juice, this is how you're going to feel. Do you want to feel exhausted and then get acne the next day? I know my daughter's friends, whenever they go trick-or-treating, the next day, they always suffer from some type of acne. And they always are like, oh, trick-or-treating. Well, you know what? If we start having these conversations with our kids before, now they're like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to switch that out. Maybe I'm not going to have that one. Oh, what are you having? You're having something that looks like what I'm having. But I know your skin glows. So maybe I'm going to have that too. You open the conversation. And if you get to connect with what they care about, now you can have a better and open conversation. If they want focus, well, you know what? That sugar, what Carm just explained, that is making them not have focus. Those dance moves they want to remember, they're not going to remember it, right? So having a nutritious foods, now they're going to be like, yeah, I got that TikTok move. I remember that. Great. I've got it. I'm more focused. I'm more organized. You want those muscles? Well, the sugar is actually depleting that muscle. You know, you cannot push that much in the gym because of all of the artificial ingredients. So connect to what they care about. So that is how I would have a conversation with teenagers, but don't ever tell them you can't eat this. Give them options. Make them healthy treats. Treats is what they're looking for. They're looking for flavorful food. My motto forever has always been, you want to eat that chocolate cake? Eat it. But let me show you how to make it healthy, right? Do you want to eat Jell-O? No problem. I'll show you how to make it healthy. Anything that you crave and you want to eat, just make it healthy. And we already built that platform. In the Million Mom Movement, we have all of those recipes for you to help guide you. Have your kids, have them cook and bake with you and smell and taste, and then see what it does to what they care about. So start connecting to what your kids care about and have these open conversations. Because you know what? These small conversations could lead to big, big results with your family. Okay, back to you, Carm.
Absolutely, Taz. I love that. And you always bring your children on, and that's so important. And witnessing it firsthand, how community supports, well, it's supportive of also the caregivers. We need the support to get permission to act in our best interest for our kids and not just get swept away by mass marketing, and to really ground ourselves here. This is the norm. This community should be the norm. And we want to tip the tipping point. We're creating a tipping point here. So I'm going to pass the mic to Michelle Ricci, who's going to be talking about some of our swaps and solutions that we would recommend from our Million Mom movement.
Thanks so much. What a great call today. And it's important to educate ourselves, right? And then to get the solutions too. And I love what you were saying, Toss, about including kids in cooking and that, and just in the day-to-day stuff, because when we do, we really normalize this way of being instead of normalizing mainstream. And we are so marketed to as women, mothers, children, men, right? Even like pink razors, men's razors versus women's razors. The color is different and it's a $7 difference. Same with our food, same with cereal, same with marketing. We're being marketed to for convenience. Kids are being marketed to with bright colors, right? Candy comes in bright colors. Why do you think they market it like that? You know, when, you know, back in the day, fruit and vegetables were brightly colored on the vine so that we would be attracted to and eat them. So it's no accident that the packaging and the marketing is the same for these, you know, toxic candies. They want you to grab this instead. So having conversations, it's like, it's so huge, right? It's hard to fight it. Chemicals are just being introduced every day with the assumption that they're safe. And if they're not, it has to be proved otherwise at a later date. So it's hard to keep on top of it. So we take our biomedic and we keep up on our gut health so we can keep pulling these toxins out. But how else can we do it? We do it by talking to our children and to our families. And so I really do want to take this segment and take a few minutes to give you permission to have these conversations with your family. So for me, from a young age, my son is now 22, and he is my youngest, and I'm rocking the college and pack, if you guys are wondering how old I am. But from a very young age, I would include my son in everything, including shopping. So we're marketed to at the supermarket, the candy is on the aisle on the way out. But when we would go through the aisles and he would ask for something, I would turn it over and read it with him, or I would have him read it. If there was anything in there that he couldn't pronounce, we would look it up, or it would just be too big and too many letters that he would know, or if it had a color or a number in it. And that was our criteria. And so he was so involved with helping pick out food and helping pick out his snacks, because there are still alternatives out there that are candies and jelly beans and things like that that are safer alternatives. And so when Halloween came around, because we live in a very small town and I can't just keep him from doing things with the community and having fun with his friends. So when he was young, we did the Switch Witch, or what we called the Great Pumpkin. We called it the Great Pumpkin. And he would collect everything and he would set it out for the Great Pumpkin. And depending on how much the bucket was full, it would get switched out, kind of like a tooth fairy kind of thing. As he got older, obviously, he realized I was the Great Pumpkin. And so we had to up the currency. So I love what Taz was saying about, like, find out what their currency is. So I involved him again, and we talked about snack size versus big candy bars, certain things that were more rare. And it became a game where every candy had a value. And he would go out with his friends and try and get as much candy as he possibly could, because to him, that translated into actual currency with me and getting something that was a goal for him that we also talked about. So still, they're his choices, but they're still kind of my choices, but they're really good choices, and he feels empowered. He still gets to go out with his friends. He can still sit in a group with his friends and trade candy, but he's doing it for his reasons, even if his friends, don't realize that he's not going to, not going to be eating it. So this has been really useful way to talk to him, and then just looking up, like, hey, empowering him, like, hey, what is this ingredient? Let's look it up. I don't know exactly what it does either. And getting curious with him and showing him how to read labels and then look up, like, are there any side effects to this? Where is it most commonly found? And now he's in college. So it's a little harder to control that, right? But he has some good, habits in place, and he knows he doesn't feel great when he binges on that stuff. So what's really nice is that he at least will do his Fab 5 every day, and he knows he feels different when he doesn't incorporate the nutrition therapy. So even though he's at college, he has limited funds, he's eating off the buffet, he still has his nutrients every day so that there's a balance. And even when he was younger, if we were going to have a treat, he would have an apple or a piece of fruit first. So it was kind of this currency, this system that we developed, and it really comes from not being scared to have these conversations with your kids and just see what's important to them. And when they do binge on something that, just helping them just be like, oh, I told you so, but not like that, but more like, hey, I noticed you're not feeling great. How much of that did you have? Well, let's take a look at the ingredients. This could be why it's contributing to the way that you're feeling, and help them connect the dots. And that's how we empower our children. That's how we empower our families. That's how we empower our community. And that's how we have fun and safe holidays where we can still feel included and be inclusive without feeling weird or being weird, or, walking around being a Debbie Downer about the whole situation. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Naive, I think is going to wrap up with some more information for us on this subject.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, Carmela and Taz. Wow, what a information-packed call today. I've just been really learning so much from you ladies and just appreciate how much value we all bring to our community here so that we can spread this message far and wide. So yes, I love the transaction of being able to put value on those sweet treats and switch them out for healthier options, or maybe, something that our kids really want to do, maybe an adventure or something that they've been waiting, that they're waiting till their birthday, but now they can get it early. So switch those things out, add value to the candies that they are trick-or-treating for. And then let's talk about, some of the solutions as, we're eating sugars and we know that the sugar is lowering our immune system. And even if we're eating organic candies and organic sugars, right, the sugar lowers our immune system. So it's really important that we make sure and, feed our kids full of healthy food before going trick-or-treating, and then also have some solutions for afterwards, right? We're going to have that sugar headache, that sugar rush, that sugar crash, and greens are the best thing for you. Having a green spectrum drink or, a healthy green drink is really helpful to help alkalize your body again and bring you back into better homeostasis in your body. And so we have so many different options. And then for the kids, we also have our Epigenius kids, right? If they're still wanting, like, maybe you can swap out some of the candy for an Epigenius kid shake, or you can make some chocolate Epigenius nice cream, or something that's still a sweet treat and yummy, but maybe you can even trade it out for something that's a win-win for you and your kids on Halloween night, and something that you can feel really good about, right? So whether or not they're consuming the sugary candies or whether you're swapping them out for healthier alternatives, we just want to make sure that you know that we have so many different alternatives for you, not only in our recipes that we provide online on millionmommovement.info, but also through our Purium page. We have lots of great recipes on the blog, and there's just so many resources to help you through providing healthier alternatives. So also, for us moms and parents, we have the biomedic. And so detoxing, all the side effects of the sugar and the toxins and some of those candies that we might end up eating, is always having a solution, because none of us are perfect here. We all have our downfalls. We all have our moments, right? We're all moms trying to get through this struggle. The struggle is real, especially when it comes to sugar and candy. So really just helping to support each other through this holiday and help provide some really great solutions. So make sure that their bellies are full, and make sure when they come home, you have a really yummy smoothie or with some greens in there, some green spectrum or the Epigenius kids or power shake in there, just to really help alkalize their body from that overload of sugar that they may have out there. I do want to open it up because we wanted to take questions, and so I'm going to pass it back to Carmela so that we can take a few questions before we close this out. If anybody wants to raise your hands, go ahead, Carmela, back to you.
Thanks, Naiva. Yeah, we have some time if you want to hit the reactions button and raise your hand, or just put it into the chat. You're more than welcome to join us and comment or share a question. And as we're having these conversations and really coming to our own family with the information that we've learned either through the article or through this episode, the bioaccumulation of these toxins like titanium dioxide, the food additives, I mean, this actually has proven to damage your DNA. And we want to bring information to these kids so that they know, do you want to grow up like that? Right? Do you want to build your body knowing this is science, that in the EU, they banned titanium dioxide because of this known damage to your DNA. Had to throw that one in there because that's kind of scary that it's so prevalent, guys. Rakira, I'd love to bring you on.
Hi, everyone. Greetings and blessings. I always love these calls, and I appreciate this call especially. So my question is, so I believe Michelle, thank you for being the newest member of the council. Love you so much. Mentioned this. So my thing was about the whole thing about trick or treating. A friend of mine was like, "So are you going to take her trick or treating?" And I was a little afraid to do that because, I don't want to entice her with the candy. However, she's almost 4, but she knows about candy and she knows about fruits and she knows about her veggies and she knows about we can make these things. So I want to where I can find a way to incorporate that. So I guess go a little bit more deeper with what you were talking about, the incentive of if we were to go trick or treating on Monday, if you get these many candies, we can do some, how would you go about that for a almost 4-year-old?
Yeah, so it's such a great question. And, I'm sure some of the other council members can answer this too. For me, with the 4-year-old, I would be doing a lot of prep in the next few days about guess what I just found out? We might be able to go trick-or-treating after all. And, I found out there's a switch witch, or I found out there's a great pumpkin. And even though we don't eat the candy, we could go out and collect it. And then just kind of like we put the tooth under the pillow at night for the tooth fairy, we could put the bucket out for the great pumpkin, or what, however you want to say it, and then just see. And then it's almost like it's her idea, right? She could be like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing, right? So you're getting the buy-in and making her think it's her idea. And that's the biggest thing I think with 4-year-olds is just interrupt, redirect, and make them think it's their idea, because it's still your choice. And so if you bring it up like that, maybe, and then just kind of do a little research and see if you could find something out, or, write a letter to the great pumpkin and about what she wants, more than anything, and what she could trade her candy in for. And then under that premise, then just make plans with her. Okay, but what would we do? We could go out for an hour, I bet, and get some great, you know what I mean? And just play along. So how does that feel as a solution? I think you remuted yourself.
I did, just
There
because
you go.
she's in the background and who knows, 4-year-olds, it screams. But no, it sounds great. I'm interested in doing that. She usually goes with her father on the weekends. So today we could talk about it, and then it can be a build up. So then I can see her Monday after school and just kind of
Love it.
plan that. And
Yeah, let us
just
know how it goes.
Yeah, because we just moved into a new neighborhood, and it's a really nice neighborhood, and she's gonna be super cute. I was also gonna plan something too of doing something at our place, and we can make things. So that was also my idea, was incorporate other kids into our space and create something where it's create that as a normal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I would do that also, so that she can have fun with friends and still, do it. And I think it's a win-win for everybody. So let us know how it goes.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
And I just want to share also my solution, because I'm a 9 and 12-year-olds. They're at the height of socialization and understanding what trick-or-treating fun is all about. And they know it's about candy. So I'm taking my kids away. It's actually a 5-day vacation in nature with my sister-in-law and dogs. And we're going to end in a Halloween night, and we leave the next morning. So it's a different neighborhood. We get to dress up. We're going to have our own festivities at home. I'm actually completely avoiding trick-or-treating in my neighborhood because I just don't like accumulating junk. I don't feel in my right. You heard the statistics of the amount of money that Americans spend for Halloween candy. I don't want to be part of that. But if you do, then again, the currency topic is really great. So we'll probably hit maybe 2 houses, and I'll feel not so guilty because they've at least gone out in a neighborhood that's not their own, and they can still experience the festivity, but not at this degree of let's see how big my bag can be, because then I'm accumulating that. So we want to be part of the solution and not patronize, then and actually avoid and have a great time doing it. So just wanted to share that's my my Halloween experience about to be this weekend. And good luck, Rakira. Have fun with it. And Shannon Hammer.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, please come on.
Great. This isn't actually related to Halloween in particular. It's just a candy question. So, being in the elementary school a lot with my children, one of the things I see is that candy is readily available in the elementary school as well. I mean, and further all through the schools. I mean, even purchased and brought in by teachers. Have you gone over anything with that or done calls to action for these things? This is one of the things that my daughter had pandas, and just dealing with it being a social thing, and then she would have to be excluded, or allowing her to do it and just be sick. Those are the things that I really have been like kind of detrimental to my daughter's social anxieties and behaviors, whether it was because she intook the toxic candies or sugars, or that she was excluded from it.
So I can
Yeah.
take it.
Yes, go ahead. I was actually going to call on you, Tug, because I know you're in part of the PTA. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I would do, I would give your teacher candy that you approve of. Okay. And have the candies there, so the kids can enjoy it, and then your child can look at those candies, and you give an option. You have a healthier option, because we don't want the kids to ever feel excluded. This is something like, if you tell them you can't have it or to be excluded, I mean, this is worse than any toxicity, right? So to keep them included, I always bring everything to the teachers in advance. I always am prepared. I go and stock up before Halloween, because I know the healthy candies always sell out because they're always limited. So I buy them in advance and I give it to the teachers so they know, okay, if you're going to have that one, have a healthier option for my kids. And they don't mind. They don't mind. They're like, okay, we're enjoying something with our friends that looks the same, it looks similar. Find out what they're serving, what they're giving, and just do a healthier version. If it's a Skittles, there's like Unreal. Like there's a lot of options on the market today. I hope that helps.
I'd love to add to that too. This is the part of where we're giving you permission to have these conversations. So when my son was young, there were some allergies in the classroom, not just his, but some others. And we took it upon ourselves to talk to the school, talk to the teacher, and we did this every year. And then we became the 3 women that volunteered for every class party. And we would make the snacks and we would bring the stuff, and then we would just let the other parents know like what we needed as far as like help with volunteering. And so you have the reins. You have the reign. I know society, I know it's a big deal. I know every holiday, is around candy and cards. And I know it's a lot of pressure. I really do. And you, just like you're far more capable of healing than anybody's ever taught you to believe, you have the reins with your children, and you are far more empowered than anybody has ever taught you to believe about going into your school, talking to the teacher and just saying, hey, my kid, this is an autoimmune thing and it's really important. And so I'd love to just volunteer to bring healthy snacks and be the snack person. So that's everyday activism for our families and our children, especially when they have medical conditions. And it's empowering, and it empowers your children when they see you stepping up for them like that. And you do have the power. So I just want to reiterate that we're giving you permission to get involved and advocate for yourself, and just get in there. If you can volunteer, then just take it over. And then you don't have to explain all of it to anybody. You can just bring what you'd rather have your kid eating without having to go through the long diatribe. So I wanted to chime in with that.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for all your responses, and also to Shannon for coming on and sharing your question. Keep sharing in our group. I'm going to close out the call to invite you to next week's topic, which is the seasonal transformation. It's a great time, even if it's the holidays, to consider doing a reset, because it's a great way to stay on your path and to have a guide. So we're going to go into that next week. But I'm going to actually pass it to Anaiva Flore to end with a call to action, which is our activism.
Thank you so much, Carmela, and thank you all for joining us today. Hang on for just one quick minute, and we're going to share our call to action for today. And as you know, we've been looking over the Detox Project article, The Poison in Our Daily Bread. And at the bottom of the article, you'll find this glyphosate contamination report. And this report is what we've been working off of for our call to action. And today our call to action is on number 25 and 26. The green split peas, as well as the pinto beans through great value provided at Walmart. They have 55 and 54 parts per billion of glyphosate. And glyphosate is found in a lot of our foods. And it's really important that we know what it is that we're feeding our families. So we just wanted to show you where to go right here. If you'll go to Instagram as soon as you hop off our Zoom today and go to the Hy-Vee page, and you just go to the very first article right here and go ahead and leave a comment. I did leave a comment a little earlier here. And you can just see, ask them if they're aware that there's the chemical glyphosate found in, their foods, their candies. You can also be more specific with the split peas and the, different beans that have glyphosate in it. And just ask them if they're doing anything about it. And as you can see on this report, going back to the report, we called them out a couple weeks ago as well on the black beans and the wheat bread that they provide. This week, we're going to green split peas and pinto beans. And so the more and more that we go back to these pages and share our activism and our voice, the more we can move that needle towards them making an actual difference. And so we want to invite you to go ahead and participate in our call to action today. Go and lift up your voice on that Instagram page. And to take it a step further, you can take a screenshot, share it in your stories, and tag the Million Mom Movement so we can share it there. So thank you so much, Carmela and Taz and Michelle. Back to you, Carmela. Thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Neva, too, for that call to action. Please all activate, and we'll see you on our next Fierce Friday. We do invite you to come onto our social media pages. Again, subscribe to our YouTube channel where the replays can be found. We have our Instagram page and our 2 Facebook group pages, our official and the group page. So we would love to see you there. We do also have recipes on our millionmommovement.info website. So we look forward to seeing you again repeat in our community. Have a wonderful weekend and happy Halloween.